What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video from Gray House. I know I have been away for a long time, but please bear with me. It's all in good reason. Well, if you guys don't know, that I graduated in August. I had a summer vlog saying that I had finished my classes. Push forward till now. I am now a grad assistant at the university I just graduated from. I am pursuing my Master's of Science in Human Resources because I want to help people advance their social skills and their people skills, as long as, you know, style, blogging, all that good stuff. And yes, I did get A's in the two classes that I took, but also I have another job that I'm taking, another business I'm trying to run, and which is more of a family business, and then trying to do my own stuff. So I've been busy, so please bear with me. Anyway, now that we can get that out of the way, I just want to let you guys know how I got to where I'm at. And I guess today's going to be a little bit more of like a disclosure. You know, it's not anything special, it's not anything fancy, it's not anything related to style. Truth be told, it's just one of those things that I feel like I need to talk about. A lot of people have been telling me, especially from my hometown, they're like, oh, you're so successful, you graduated in 3 years, you're a grad assistant, you have another job, you opened up a business, you're helping another family business. It's not all fun and games. You know, the way I see Facebook, you know, and this is with all due respect, even in Instagram, it's like we show you what we want to show you. It's a peephole of our life, you know. For example, I mean, I don't get dressed every day. There's some days where I'm jeans and a t-shirt or a flannel, or I'm lounging in sweatpants and a t-shirt, and I'm in a hoodie. Like, I don't dress dapper every day, you know. I mean, it's good, right? But in the sense, I feel like I speak for a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, in some cases, it's a facade, you know. It's not real. It's like we're trying to show you someone who we're not. And this is by all means no disrespect, but I find that's true. One of the things that hit me close to home was somebody asking me if I should go to college, right? That's what they asked me. Should I go to college? And it took me back in retrospect, and I realized that I didn't have it easy growing up. But I will tell you this. People had it worse than me. People will always have it worse than you. People will be smarter than you. People will be more resilient than you. And I want you guys to just tone in on that one key word: resilience. Life is all about being resilient, because it's not black and white. In my opinion, it's shades of gray, right? It's very few moments where it's black and white. At the end of the day, it's just the silver lining. So one of the things that I just kind of want to tell you was that I don't come from let's put it this way, it's one of those things that it's hard to talk about, but it's not hard to talk about, especially with you guys, because, you know, I tell people all the time, like, you know, I didn't have it easy growing up. In the case I did, but in my opinion, it was a struggle. So I guess I can kind of just lay it out all on the table. I don't know my father, my real father, right? He's what I call a sperm donor, and that's all he'll ever be to me, because he was never around. And you know, my mother did everything to you know, she breaks her back for me. She did everything to ensure that I had food in my belly and clothes on my back, and she'll break her back if need be. She does everything, especially for my sister and I. And so she was a single mom. She worked 3 jobs, and she tried to do online school, and you know, my father came in and out of my life till I was 7, when I had met him when I was 4 for like 3 years. It was on and off, and then, you know, he screwed up and he went to jail, and then after that, I met him when I was 15 in Mexico, just to give him like recognition. Hey, like, this is what you are to me, which is, you know, virtually nothing. And I didn't know the idea of what the idea of like biological parents. until I was 12, and it was the most confusing thing because when I had met my father, I was being raised by another man, right? And I called him Dad. Everybody called him Dad, so we called him Dad, and he's my grandpa. Well, tone in few years later, turns out he's my step-grandpa, right? He's not my blood, but I will tell you what, I don't care about the idea that he's not blood because, truth be told, it's your actions, you know. Your title doesn't matter. It's the actions that you do is what's going to make you who you are. And that goes for anything and everything. So I met my biological grandfather, which I was 12, which I have a great relationship with him. And, you know, he was the only one who went to college, and, you know, he got his master's degree, and he's doing great now. He's retired. But come back a little bit in my family, in my direct family, not that he is a direct family, but the people that I grew up with, there was only one person who went to college. And it was super weird because everybody said that I hold the flag now, right? My cousin, right? He graduated, but it took him 12 years. He wasn't a traditional student. He worked 3 jobs. He had kids. He had to support his wife, like the whole works. And he became a math teacher, and he's a coach now, and he gets paid good money. But it was a struggle for him too. So every time someone said, "Oh yeah, Isaac's going to college," it was kind of like, I wish it was as easy as saying it's water off a duck's back. It really wasn't. It was more like this pressure. Well, put the family issues aside. Academically, I was told, and I have no shame of saying it, I was told by my first grade teacher that I would be a dropout, I would be a drunk, I would be a gangbanger, I would follow my father's footsteps. And that gave my mother so much determination and motivation and resilience to ensure that I would go to college and graduate. And she was so hard on me. She made me bust my ass, and she didn't let me use any excuse. And truth be told, she said if I had a C, it was failing. And I remember that like it was yesterday because I graduated, and I always made it to the honors banquet. And you know, no matter how hard or how much I sucked at science, I made sure that I had to have a B. Even if it was on that borderline of 80, 83, 84, like, it really sucked when report cards came out. I remember that in high school. Well, physically, you know, through sports, I was an underrated athlete. You know, I did everything I could in my power to improve myself physically. And you know, I wasn't on varsity 4 years. I wasn't, you know, a state qualifier. If anything, I was more smarts. You know, I was a student athlete. Like I worried about my education. I didn't have it paid for me. I wasn't, you know, prom king or anything like that. I was just an athlete. And what I mean by that is they put, you know, the star players from my freshman year into varsity, but I started out on the B team in 7th grade, knew nothing of football, never watched it, always fell asleep at the football games. I never cared for it, and I didn't make it for our Pee Wee team because I wasn't an awesome athlete or an elite athlete. And so I started out 7th grade B team and just had to figure things out and how things worked. And you know, by the time I got to my junior year, I got moved up to varsity, only to realize that the person in front of me wasn't as good. And then you know how small town politics are. What really pissed me off was that I knew I was better than him or I could outwork him, but the coach and his dad were drinking buddies, so obviously he was going to put him first string, and it pissed me off because I remember I was never the strongest. You know, I was just average. And he said if I could never squat 400 pounds, I would never play on the O-line as a starting player. Come in the next year, he leaves. And I had 1 year, one good, solid varsity year at right guard. And that is considering that I started out as a linebacker. They moved me from receiver to tight end to linebacker to defensive tackle to defensive end to fullback, and I end up playing right guard at 190 pounds at 5'9", 5'10". I was the smallest smallest lineman on my team, and we're a 3A, so bear with me. And you know, I look back and it's just, they always put the biggest tackle in front of me, the biggest person, the biggest adversity ever. And yes, I got my ass whooped. Yes, I got trampled, but I never made. I always made sure that I never lost at the end. And yes, I knew it. Like, he would get me, and I just made sure he didn't get my quarterback, because my job is to do a job, and I will do that job however it is. At one point in the game, it never failed, because they were the heaviest. They didn't have the stamina I did. And at one point in the game, you know, he would get tired. And that's when I knew I had him at an advantage. And that's when I would outwork him and outmuscle him, because I had better stamina, because I busted my ass in the weight room, because I busted my ass in conditioning. And I outworked every single one of them. I was the smallest one, and at one point it was just, no, like, you kicked my ass, now it's time for me to show you what you gave me. And I always did, you know, always went hard. And I never cared, because it was just in that sense that I wanted to prove to them that, you know, I don't care if I'm the smallest. I don't care I'm not the strongest. At one point, I outwork you. I am working to kick your ass till that game is over. And it's something that, you know, with everything that came in, you know, academically, physically, athletically, just all in all, I realized what my key trait is, and that is being resilient. And that is what I'm trying to tell you guys. When I came into college, I was recruited to a D2 school, and same thing again, right? But I still found a way to outwork everybody, you know. And I remember, this is something that hold dear to me. When I took my first test, it was chemistry. I'll never forget it. General organic and biochemistry. And I remember studying for that test, and I got like a 59 or a 56. It was a pretty low grade. And the first thing I did was I called my mom crying, like, I'm going to fail, I'm going to be a dropout, I'm not smart enough for college, I can't do what you want me to do. Because given that, I am the first one in my family to get recruited to play college football, but also to go to college as a traditional student. So it's a lot of pressure when one of my family members said that I hold the flag for me. You know, given that I sustained an injury, and then I transferred schools, which is a hell of a process, and there was a lot of issues going on there, because I could have been not accepted, but did accept it, and it was December break, and they weren't open, and all that stuff. So I had to move everything, and at that point, literally, like, I was struggling to find a job, because as a student athlete, you can't really work. Being an athlete is your job. I was broke, I was in debt. I just remember the whole thing. It was just like, I felt like my life was crumbling down. And then I get accepted, and there's more problems going there. And then, because I was going through personal issues, me personal, with everything aside, I wallowed just ever so slightly into alcoholism, and I, you know, would get my fix, and it progressively got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I remember one day, that following fall, right, fall 2015, I think it was November 20th, I had a bad night. I realized that there are people that I cannot hang around, and I choose now to not put myself in positions where I'm around people that will affect my career. And truth be told, I just ended up in a hospital. There's a backstory to that. And so I got my shit together, because, you know, Aaron, I thank you a lot. Because I remember stumbling across one of your videos, and it was like how to be a gentleman, and I just started watching, and that's when I started wanting to dress better. Of course, that spring I was still going through issues, but I developed a social anxiety. I remember that entire year, it was my junior year, I developed social anxiety and a paranoia, and just being uneven with myself. I was not content with myself. And, you know, that summer 2016, I found myself. I found who I was. Fall, I found who I was. I was just, you know, getting after it in the books. I finished my minors. That spring, I remember working 3 jobs, and that's when I went to StyleCon, right? 2017 in February. And And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to open my business. And of course, college doesn't really teach you anything about opening a business, but I did my due diligence and I found a foot forward. I remember, sucking at English, but I got my minor in English just to prove to myself that I did it. And then, just all in a nutshell, I had 15 hours. I had 3 jobs at a time. It ended up being 2, and I didn't go out. I was, just strict to books, strictly work and just school. And that summer it eased up, like it was a weight off my shoulders. But then I had gotten a GA position. I just applied. And you know how they say that it's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I didn't know anybody at the Fine Arts Center. And truth be told, I knew nobody. I just applied, and I got the job. And I remember being rejected from a bank teller position and a cashier position and fired from another position at Tarleton. I thought it was going to affect my career and then I had to quit another job, and then I had to quit my other job, and I just remember being in this bubble of nobody's ever going to hire me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I improved my rhetoric. I'm smart. I have a decent GPA, and it was just being resilient. And that's what I want to tell you guys. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that my business is booming, because it's not. But I have my foot forward, and it's a place where I start. So with this being a rant, I just want you to hold resilience, because that's the only thing that's going to keep you here when everybody's out here. And I'm not, in a mansion or anything like that. But I know in the future, I am not going to be where I am at today. I'm going to be better. If I'm here, I want here, because I want this, and I want to know what it's like to live this. And that is all I can really explain out of this rant. And, I'm sorry for being long, but I just really needed to get it off my chest to help you guys understand that, nothing comes easy. Truth be told, it's hard work, and not being lazy. And, instead of going out with your friends and partying at the night, stay in and figure out what you can do. Instead of watching your sitcom, soap opera, or your TV show, read a book or watch videos and learn something new, improve your education. The one thing that they told me when I graduated, and my grandpa, he told me, this is just the beginning. Now you have to prove why you're worth this piece of paper. And it's true. And it stuck for me again and again. So I went back to school because, one, I truly want to teach at a junior college or at a community college while I run my own business as an entrepreneur or businesses. But I also need that practical corporate experience, because I feel like a lot of people in my family are blue-collar workers. So I need to break that bubble and just say, hey, here it is. So I broke the bubble. It's not what you know, it's who you know. I broke that bubble. And I just want to keep breaking bubbles. And I just want to keep people saying, oh, I can't do this. So anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. And stay tuned, because I have some content ready to come up.